Call yourself a knucklehead because you've made some statements that just aren't true. And the comment about weapons of war that I carried in war, which you didn't. You said that you were in Hong Kong during the Tiananmen Square massacre when you weren't. You kind of chalked it all up to bad grammar or getting the dates wrong. But your opponents say you lied to make yourself look better. Do they have a point?
Governor Tim Walz doubles down on his repeated lies during an interview with ABC News. Now, some of these questions you're going to hear from the ABC host. It's nothing new. It's all the same stuff, but the answers are still the same. And, you know, it's almost as if Tim Walz and Kamala Harris, they're competing to see who can deliver the worst interview performance. So before I go any further, let's start with where we always start, the economy.
And let's talk about the economy. That is the top issue for voters out there. 74% of voters said the past year they've had to cut back on groceries because of the rising costs, of course. And a lot of those voters, they're concerned that they cast their vote for Kamala Harris, but she's responsible for that. Yeah. So how do you reach those voters? What do you say to those voters who may blame her for the economy right now?
Yeah, folks in the middle. Well, we talk to them about what are the policies that are going to make a difference. And we see some of the data, but data doesn't impact people in their daily lives. Go into the grocery store and you see false information, whether it's bird flu impacting eggs. But the reality for most people is if those costs are up, they want to know what you're going to do about it. I think that's why she's focusing on making sure whether it's home ownership more affordable, tax cuts for the middle class, and let's just be candid about this. There's price gouging piece of this.
And something that former President Trump said, something that within your debate they were saying that, hey, these are policies that Kamala Harris could have done 3 years ago when she was in the White House with President Biden, and she never did. What do you say to people who bring that up?
Well, Donald Trump had 4 years to do it, if you're going to talk about that. And what the point is, you need a partner in Congress. You've seen these. We've seen different bills that are ready to pass, and Donald Trump makes sure he steps in. We saw it around immigration, a bipartisan bill, widely respected, wanting to make a difference in this, holding true to our values, securing the border. Donald Trump steps in and says, look, that's going to hurt my political future. Let's not make it happen.
Okay, so let's just get this clear. First, you're going to blame Congress on why Kamala Harris hasn't been able to do anything over the past 3.5 years. The problem, Tim Walz, is that she's been doing something over the last 3.5 years, and she did it 33 times. She casted the tie-breaking vote 33 times as the vice president, and that is a record. Second thing was about Trump and what he did in his 4 years. Well, clearly, he did way better than Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I mean, there is no comparison. Of course, that makes you wonder, is there a true difference between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden? And no, I'm not talking about their gender, their age, and the fact that she's a person of color. We're talking about policy. Here's what Tim Walz had to say about that.
Vice President Harris was asked this week on The View if she would have done anything differently than President Biden that he has done in the past 4 years. And she said, quote, there is not a thing that comes to mind. And she later said she would have a Republican in her cabinet. Yeah. And when it comes to President Biden and the presidency, would you or do you see anything that you would have done differently?
Yeah, and look, as a governor, I was asked to be governor of this state when Donald Trump was president and when Joe Biden was there. And I watched Donald Trump dismiss the COVID pandemic. I watched him drive an economy into the ground. And I watched Joe Biden and Kamala Harris pick those pieces up. And I think for all of us, we make decisions, we reanalyze afterwards. I think the thing that drew me to this ticket, and I think what the vice president's talking about, is that her values on these hasn't changed. They have been working for the middle class. They've been doing all they can to make sure prices come down. They're protecting reproductive care.
So it makes me want to ask you, do you think that Biden's done everything right?
Well, look, I don't know if any of us do everything right, but I can tell you he's done everything in the best interest of the American public. He's listened to what the public did. He's asked for answers, and I think, and reevaluated afterwards. And I think if your values and the judgments you're making and the ethical decisions you're making, he's done that. And I, again, have seen the difference that it made, especially during the COVID pandemic, of what it looks like to have that ethical, visionary leadership versus someone who's incredibly self-centered.
Got it. So you got to see how great Joe Biden was as a president, right? Those vaccine mandates, okay. The closing the school system down, okay, got it, right. And the opening of the border, okay, right. So they lie through their teeth. We know this. Now, it's all political. We know they're not going to come out and bash Joe Biden, but they should. And I think they would earn a lot of respect. And if they want to convert those moderate Republicans and those undecided voters who are on the fence, they should be bashing Joe Biden all day long. I don't think they're going to lose votes from the actual Democratic base by bashing him, because we know that his low approval rating speaks to how voters on both sides really feel about him. Now, before we get to this next clip, if you're getting value from this video, do me a favor. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you want to support us further, go to the link in the description below, grab yourself a t-shirt, or buy us a cup of coffee. Now, we know that Tim Walz is a serial liar. We know that. He lied about his military record. He's lied about his political record. I mean, this guy can't help but lie and then chalk it up to him being a knucklehead. So, of course, the ABC host had to ask him this question. Here's what he said.
Let's talk about your record. And you call yourself a knucklehead. Call yourself a knucklehead because you've made some statements that just aren't true. And the comment about weapons of war that I carried in war, which you didn't. You said that you were in Hong Kong during the Tiananmen Square massacre when you weren't. You kind of chalked it all up to bad grammar or getting the dates wrong.
Yeah.
But your opponents say you lied to make yourself look better. Do they have a point?
Well, look, 35 years ago, got the opportunity to be in Hong Kong, be in China, learned a lot about it, served 24 years in the National Guard, passionately, in an instance, talking about gun violence in schools, on an instance there, proud of the service that I've done, proud to be a teacher in that classroom, proud to have been very public all these years, and owning it when I, said, look, I was there in August of '89. And I think what you see here, you saw it in Minnesota. I've been elected 8 times here. These things have been very public for folks here. They see the results of things that we pass. We see a state that's a top 5 state for business. We see 3rd best state, top 3 state for raising a child, and we've got the best health care.
Well, but it's one of the things with trust. So there are going to be some people who say, we can't trust him even tell the truth about himself.
Yeah.
What do you say to them?
Well, I said they know who I am. I know who I am. I know the work that I've done. I know that things get spun in a political environment. But I think what they see is, if they want to compare that talking about immigration policy or seeing the things that Donald Trump would say, I think there's a big difference than missing a date when you're there.
Okay, so his excuses are clearly that he speaks passionately, he wears his emotions on his sleeve, people know who he really is, so it doesn't matter if he misspeaks, right? It doesn't matter that he keeps telling people that he's a retired command sergeant major when he was never a retired command sergeant major. It's okay that he said that he carried weapons in war when he never actually went to war. I guess that's okay. They keep saying this is a new way forward, a new generation of leadership. So part of the new way forward is to mislead and lie about what you say and then chalk it up because you're passionate. See, this is the problem with the Democratic Party. When it comes to the Republicans and Trump, if they say something wrong, they're all over them. But when they say something wrong, oh no, I'm passionate, which takes us to probably one of the biggest lies that have come out from this entire election cycle from Tim Walz, besides the military record. It's this whole idea that he wants to ban the Electoral College. And of course, the host asked him about it, and his response was telling. Check this out.
I want to go back to something you said on Tuesday. You said, I think all of us know the Electoral College needs to go. But the campaign came out later that night, and they said that's not their stance.
Yeah. Well, it's not the campaign's position. And the point I'm trying to make is that there's folks that feel every vote must count in every state. Mm-hmm. And I think some of folks feel that's not the case. Our campaign does that. And the point I'm saying is I'm in 5 states in 2 days. We're out there making the case that the campaign's position is clear, that that's not their position. Their position and my position is to make sure that everybody understands their vote, no matter what state they're in, matters.
So that's something that you and Vice President Harris disagree on?
I have spoken about it in the past, that she's been very clear on this, and the campaign, and my position is the campaign's position.
I mean, this is who Tim Walz is. He's a guy who flies off the handle, and when he has to answer questions and he's at these rallies, he's jumping all over the place. You thought Elon Musk jumping up and down at the Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania was cringe, because a lot of people reacted that way. I thought it was cool, whatever. But let's say it was cringe. It's got nothing on this guy, Tim Walz. This guy's doing somersaults all the way to the stage, right? And when he gets up there, he's so emotional, he doesn't even think clearly about what he's saying. So then you get him into this interview, and what does he do? Oh, well, my position is the campaign's position. So it's okay that you lied. right? I mean, is that what we're doing? You're auditioning to be the vice president of the United States. And so what you're saying is it's okay to lie. Now, let's be honest here, folks. Politicians lie all day long. We know that. But can you do it with some level of respect and confidence? Can you stop being so sloppy with it? I mean, that's the thing that I don't like about Tim Walz is he's a very sloppy dude. When we're talking about someone who's going to be in the room with the commander in chief and are making decisions on behalf of the lives of soldiers, sons and daughters, potential decisions that could lead to World War III. No, I'm good. Now, you guys recall when they did the VP debate and he said that he befriended school shooters, right? He became friends with these school shooters. And once again, they asked him about that. And here's what he said.
And Vice President Harris said that she told you to be a little bit more careful on how you say things.
Well, I did it, even the other day of just speaking passionately about these gun violence situations and meeting with these survivors. I've sat in the room with the Sandy Hook folks, a friend with David Hogg, who's been an activist on this. People know in that, and then that gets spun in that, well, he didn't say something true. It was very clear that I was talking about these veterans, very clear that I wear, I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and I do think in these positions, whether it be governor or being vice president of the United States, you do need to be careful. You do need to be a little more thoughtful on it. And I think what you see is as someone who's been in classrooms a lot, I've been around coaching a lot, I speak passionately, and I think doing that, you need to combine the two. And I think that's what she's referring to.
No, I think what she was referring to is for you to dial back how much lying you're doing that is so blatant and obvious. Like, they speak to us as if they believe we're so stupid that we won't do any research, that we won't press rewind and clearly try to hear exactly what they said. It's as if they don't think we're going to read the transcript, but we do. And this is why we're calling it out, because he's a liar. And here's the thing about Tim Walz that gets me every single time. It's okay if you're going to lie as a politician, because that is a reasonable expectation from every single one of them on both sides. That's fine. But when you cross the line of lying about your military record and saying that you are a retired command sergeant major and you have yet to come out and say, I apologize, I actually retired at the rank of master sergeant. He's never said that. So to me, he's a blue falcon. That's what we would call him in the military. This guy is destructive. Okay. He's bad news. He's not the leader we need in the White House. He's not someone, if we do go into a World War III, that we want in the room. Not at all. And that's my opinion. I mean, what do you guys think about this interview? I mean, I know we're not expecting anything else from him. Of course, I know that. But man, you would think by now, he would have gotten the message that, hey, man, you got to stop the lying so many times. I mean, come on, and you got to be more clear and direct. And it's as if they probably believe they don't need to. Maybe they believe they have enough votes to win this election, and telling the truth or being direct and clear is not really needed. Well, we're going to find out come this November, of course. But let me know what you think about all this and more in the comments section below. Now, Tim Walz isn't the only person who has an issue like this. It's the entire Democratic Party. And recently, former President Obama had to come out and start campaigning for Kamala Harris. And he also made this same mistake when he criticized black voters. If you want to check that out, click on the video right now.